What is going on, college sports fans? Welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today we are going to be filling out CBS's Bracketology. As you can see, this one came out Friday, February 25th, which is going to be the same day I'm uploading this video. And we are taking this bracket, we put it into a PDF, and we are going to fill it out all the way until the national championship. So we make a new bracket every single Friday, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subs. We're getting really close, and we're building a really nice college sports community here on the channel. So make sure you guys subscribe, drop me a like for more bracket predictions like this one, and comment down below your thoughts on the bracket or anything about college basketball, because I love talking to you guys about college basketball. We can talk to each other. Like I said, we got a nice little community here, so make sure you guys comment down below. And yeah, let's get it started, man. I am ready to get right into it. Last week we did Joe Lunardi's. This week we are doing CBS's. Next Friday we will probably go back to Joe Lunardi's. But first matchup, we got Gonzaga versus Colgate. Easy pick for me. Too big, too strong, and too fast for Colgate. They are going to win big. Give me the Zags. Next up, Boise State versus Davidson. Now, this one is interesting because I like Davidson a lot. I think they're going to be a little bit disrespected here as a 9 seed. I think they're maybe a 7 seed, but Boise State, I was watching their game against San Diego State where they won, and I looked it up. I was like, how many times has Boise State been to the tournament? And the answer is they've been there 7 times, and they've never won in the first round. And I really wanted to pick them because of that, where they would get their first ever tournament win. But Davidson is too good, man. So I got to go with Davidson. Boise State, they're a really good team, but this is a bad draw for them at the 8-9. Very bad draw. Illinois versus Iona. Now, I like Iona a lot. I think that they have a great coach, of course, Rick Pitino, and I usually pick Iona in the first round, but Illinois I am very high on. I like Illinois a lot this year, and I was just watching their game last night against Ohio State. They almost came back. They just couldn't finish it, but Brad Underwood got ejected in that game. Kofi Coburn fouled out a little bit early in that game, and they still went on a run and almost came back. And I think that type of experience is going to be very valuable come around to March Madness. And I just like this Illinois team a lot. I think Kofi Coburn is going to be a little bit too much for this Iona team as well. He's really too big and too strong, really, for anyone on the Iona roster. So give me Illinois to win that one. Alabama versus Towson. Now, Alabama, very inconsistent. I think right here as a 4 seed, they get it done because Towson, I'm just not too high on them. It wasn't all that long ago, maybe 1-2 weeks ago, they were projected as a 16 seed. So, yeah, I'm just not too high on Towson as far as their upset potential. I mean, crazier things have happened, but give me Alabama here in the first round. Colorado State versus BYU. And I got to go with Colorado State, man. I just don't believe in this BYU team this year. They've been on the first 4 out there for a while, and I'm just not too high on BYU this year, man. I'm just not. Villanova versus Princeton. Now, I do like that Princeton is in here. I have been seeing in a lot of bracketologies that Yale was going to come out of the Ivy League. But nah, I think Princeton is the clear best team in the Ivy League. Do I think that means they're good enough to beat Villanova? Not at all. I don't believe so. Give me Colin Gillespie, Jay Wright, and the Villanova Wildcats to move on. Marquette versus TCU. Now, last week I thought Marquette had a lot of potential to go far. I still think they do. They definitely could, but I've definitely changed my mind a little bit about Marquette this year, and they're pretty inconsistent, man. And I like TCU in this one. They play in a very, very tough Big 12 conference, and they compete pretty well in it. And I think that competing in the Big 12 a lot is going to prepare you very well for March. So give me the Horned Frogs to move on. Duke versus Wagner. Give me Duke, man. I don't know too much about Wagner, but I'm going to guess that Duke is going to be too athletic and too fast for Wagner there in the first round. Gonzaga versus Davidson. Now, this is interesting. Like I said, Davidson, I think, got a little bit disrespected with their seed here by CBS, but I got to go with Zaga still. I think they're going to be too big. I don't think Davidson has the big guys defensively to be able to guard Drew Timme and also Chet. I just don't see it happening. I think Gonzaga is going to just outmuscle him, be too big for him again. So give me Gonzaga to move on. Next up, Illinois versus Alabama, the 4-5 matchup. This one could always be a fun one. I'm going to go with the 5 seed, Illinois, to move on. Like I said, Alabama's too inconsistent. I think they got a good draw by going against Towson because I do think they have some potential to be upset in the first round. But Illinois, I think that they're about to turn up a little bit here. And if they make a run in the Big Ten tournament, get pretty far, maybe even win the Big Ten championship, the Big Ten tournament, I think that they can get a lot of momentum here. And they make the Sweet 16 here for me. Colorado State versus Villanova. Now, this one could be a fun one. I like Colorado State a lot, actually, but I don't know if they get it done here against Villanova. I'm going to go with Nova again, man. Colin Gillespie, really good player, a player who could take over games like this. Jay Wright, an experienced coach, a 2-time national championship winner, is enough to get by Colorado State. The experience on Nova, man. TCU versus Duke. Now, I would love to see TCU make a run because I do think that they are an underrated team as a 10 seed. I do think the 10 seed is a good spot for them, but I think that they could make a run out of that spot. I just don't see them beating Duke. I like Duke to win this one here in the second round and move on to the Sweet 16. So, we got Gonzaga. We got Illinois. Now, this would be a very fun matchup, man. We got Drew Timme and Chet versus Kofi Cockburn. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I may get a little bit of fallback for this one, but I'm going with Illinois. Give me the Illini to move on to the Elite 8. And here's why. I think Plummer has a big game. I think Trent Frazier has a big game. It's the experienced guard play that's going to outplay Gonzaga. We need some good defensive play from Illinois, though, as far as their bigs. Cockburn, those bigs, they have to play good defense, and if they can slow down Timme and slow down Chet, I think that they can have enough firepower, maybe behind the arc with Plummer especially, to get the job done. So give me Illinois with their experienced guard play to upset Gonzaga there. So Brad Underwood defeats Mark Few there and moves on to the Elite 8. Here's a good coaching matchup. 2 Hall of Famers, Jay Wright versus Coach K. Coach K's last season, man, can he get it done? And it's Duke versus Nova. This is a tough one. A 2 versus the 3 seed to move on to the Elite 8. I'm going to go with Villanova again, man. Villanova moves on based on experience. Experience is big in the tournament. That's why I had Illinois over Gonzaga, that experienced guard play. The same thing, man. I think Villanova, Colin Gillespie, a little bit more experienced than Paolo and Trevor Keels, AJ Griffin. All of those boys are freshmen, man. And I think Villanova is just going to be too experienced. And they move on to the Elite 8. So now, the Final Four. Who is going to make it to the Final Four? This would be a very fun matchup as well. Again, I'm rocking with the Illini to make it to the Final Four. I think that Coburn would have a big game against Nova, especially after having a rough one against Chet and Timmy. He's going to have not as hard as of a matchup there against Nova, and I think this one would go down to the wire because both these teams are mature, experienced, especially in the front court or in the back court, excuse me. So I definitely think that this would go down to the wire, but give me Illinois to make the Final Four. All right, now let's move down here to this region, and then we'll go to the right side. Then we got Wyoming or Creighton. That could be a fun 8-9 matchup. I'm not too high on the Blue Jays this year. I'm going to go with Wyoming to win that one. UCLA versus North Texas. Now, this is a tough one, man, because I like North Texas a lot as a 12 seed, but UCLA, I think, is a tough draw, but they've also been showing me a lot of inconsistency recently, so I don't feel confident in picking UCLA at this point. They're going to have to show me that they're going to turn things up before March and get some momentum going into the tournament. Right now, I'm going with North Texas, man. 12/5 upset. I like this North Texas team a lot. Give me the mean green to move on. Ohio State versus New Mexico State. This could be a good one as well. Ohio State has showed me a lot of maturity as of the last few games. And E.J. Liddell can hit some big shots. Give me the Buckeyes to move on. They barely survived Illinois, but the fact that they did survive showed me a lot yesterday while I was watching that game. Give me Ohio State to move on there. USC versus Miami. I'm not too high on Miami this year, and I'm starting to like USC a little bit more than I have before. I think Boogie Ellis is a player who could take over games. He is a good closer. He can close out games, and I think that closing is a very important factor when it comes to the tournament because almost every game is going to be pretty close. So give me USC to move on. Providence versus Toledo. Now, I don't really like Toledo to make the tournament. I think that the Ohio Bobcats are going to win the MAC, but I'm going to go with Providence here. Even if it was Ohio, I'd probably still pick Providence. Michigan State versus San Francisco. This is a tough one, man. Tom Izzo is a great coach. Michigan State can spread the ball around, score in multiple different ways, but they don't have an elite player at any position. And I think San Fran could take this one. I think Michigan State is pretty inconsistent. So give me San Fran, and they've not only are they inconsistent, but they've also been on kind of a downhill path here the past couple of weeks. So give me San Fran. Kentucky versus Jacksonville State. Give me Kentucky. That's an easy one there. Kansas versus Wyoming. I think Kansas is just going to be too much for them. Altogether, they have shooters. They have drivers. They pass the ball very well to each other. I mean, look at that record that they have in the Big 12. It is crazy. So give me Kansas there to move on. North Texas versus Ohio State. And I'm going to roll with the mean green to move on to the Sweet 16, man. I think that they could do it. And I'm not too high on this Ohio State team, really. So, yeah, give me the mean green to move on. All right, so we got USC versus Providence. And this would be a fun matchup. You know, they got Al Durham who can close out games. They have a couple of nice players there. But I'm going to go with USC and Boogie Ellis to move on to the Sweet 16. A 6/3 right there and beat Providence. So, yeah, give me the Trojans there. San Francisco versus Kentucky. I do think that San Fran would stay in it a little bit. Maybe knock Kentucky a little bit and beat them up a little bit. But they're going to try hard. It can be a little bit close, but give me Kentucky to pull that one out in the end. Kansas versus North Texas, and this is where the Mean Greens run ends because I have Kansas being too much for him. Abaji, that team is just too nice, man, to be losing to North Texas in the Sweet 16. So they move on to the Elite 8. USC versus Kentucky. That could be a fun matchup as well, but give me Kentucky to move on to the Elite 8. So we got Kansas and Kentucky. The 1 versus the 2 come out of this region, man. After both the 1 and the 2 lost up here, we had a 5 versus 3 matchup. Kansas or Kentucky. That would be a fun matchup. 2 star players who are in contention for Player of the Year in Abaji and Shibwe. That would be a really fun game. I am going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks to move on. Man, this is tough. This is a tough one. You know what? I'm going with Kentucky. I think Kentucky could get that job done there. I think Shibwe is going to be a little bit too much in that one. He's going to be grabbing a ton of offensive rebounds. So give me Kentucky to make the Final 4. All right, so we got Illinois and Kentucky here in the Final 4 so far. Now let's move over to our top right region. We got Arizona versus either Cleveland State or Norfolk State. Give me Arizona. Like I said, I'm not going to be picking any 16s over 1s. This year the 1s are very strong. Murray State or Xavier. Murray State's been on a roll, man, and Xavier has been inconsistent. Give me Murray State. The Racers have been going. I mean, they had a tough game against Belmont. Belmont is a very good team. They're actually a bubble team, even though they weren't in the lead of their conference because Murray State was. And that was really the battle of their conference, and Murray State absolutely blew them out of the water. I think they beat them by like 30 points. This Murray State team is for real. Look out for them come March. Texas versus the winner of Michigan and Memphis. That could be a tough game for Texas, but I am going to go with Texas to move on. Tennessee versus South Dakota State. Give me the Volunteers. Not too high on South Dakota State. I think that they actually do have some upset potential, but I like Tennessee. Arkansas versus SMU. Arkansas, man. I am not... One conference that I'm not too high on at all. A lot of people say, like, you know, the Pac-12 is not that good this year. The ACC isn't that good this year. But the conference that I'm really not high on is the AC, or the AAC. The American Conference, man. I just don't have any trust in Houston, SMU, or even Memphis, man. So, yeah, give me Arkansas to move on. If you get a matchup against a AAC team in March, then that is a very good draw, in my opinion. So, Wisconsin versus Vermont in the first round. Vermont is a sneaky team, man. If they get a better seed and a better draw, I might pick them in an upset, but give me Wisconsin here to move on with Johnny Davis. LSU versus Iowa. I'll go with LSU. Baylor versus Long Beach State. Give me Baylor. And now let's move on to our second round. Again, people will probably be mad at me for this, but I'm going with Murray State, man. I think that they are a solid team. And it sucks the matchup because I actually came into this saying, man, Arizona has a lot of potential, and I'm probably going to pick them to go far in this bracket. But given the matchup, man, Murray State looks like a very, very good team. And I like to pick upsets. It's fun for me. I think Murray State, it's realistic for them to win this game. They're that good of a team. It's also realistic that Arizona can make the championship game. I mean, they have that much potential. They are very, very good. I'm not saying they're not, but I think Murray State can win this game, and I'm going to pick them to win this game. So Murray State moves on to the Sweet 16. Now we got Texas versus Tennessee. Man, tough pick here. Chris Beard is tough to beat in March. That's what I'm going to roll on here. Pretty much, Chris Beard has had a lot of success in tournaments recently, with Texas Tech and even Arkansas Little Rock. Is it going to be a Chris Beard team, or is it going to be a Texas Longhorn team? Because we've seen the Texas Longhorns get upset first round in March, even last year. So we'll see who shows up, man. But I'm going to go rock with Chris Beard's Longhorns there to the Sweet 16. Arkansas versus Wisconsin. I think this would be a very fun matchup as well. I think Johnny Davis is going to be too much for me to not pick them here in this second round matchup. So give me Wisconsin. LSU versus Baylor. Give me the Baylor Bears in this one. All right. Murray State versus Texas. And I can't go against the Racers at this point, man. Even against Chris Beard, I think it would be a tough game, down to the wire game. Maybe even a game Murray State hits a buzzer beater. But give me the Racers to move on to the Elite Eight as a, 8 seed? Kind of my Cinderella story here in this one. So, Wisconsin versus Baylor. This would be a great game, man. Johnny Davis versus Baylor's great defense. They also got Flagler, Akinjo. Great guard play by Baylor. Great defense. Michael Mayer. This is a tough one. Or Matt Mayer, excuse me, it's Matthew Mayer. This is a tough one, man, but I'm going to rock with the defense of Baylor to be able, those defenses, the defense of their guards have is so good, man, especially against a guy like Johnny Davis when their best player is a guard and Baylor has great guard defense. I think that they're going to have a good defensive game plan for them. Scott Drew is a great coach, and I think Baylor coaching and defense gets it done here against Wisconsin. Murray State versus Baylor. Another tough one here for the Racers, but I am going to go with Murray State to the Final Four and defeat Baylor. So give me Murray State to move on to the Final Four as an 8 seed. So we got a 2 seed, we got a 5 seed, and an 8 seed in the Final Four right now. This is the type of bracket that I like to see, man. Let's move on to our final region. Can our first 1 seed make the Final Four? Let's see, man. We got Auburn versus Longwood. So give me Auburn in that one. Seton Hall versus Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has some potential, but I'm going to go with Seton Hall in this one. Houston versus either Wake Forest or Florida. Like I said, I am not high on the AAC this year. If any of them are good, it would be Houston, being they were a Final Four team last year. But I do think that their Final Four run they had a pretty easy path last year. So, you know what? I'm picking Florida to beat Wake Forest in that first 4 game. And then I am picking Florida to upset Houston in the first round, 12/5. UConn versus Chattanooga. Chattanooga is a good team, man, and I like UConn a lot. In my opinion, they're probably the second best Big East team behind Nova. I know there's Providence, but I would probably put UConn over Providence at this point. Give me Chattanooga. 13/4. I don't think I picked any 13s over 4 so far, so give me Chattanooga. I like that pick a lot. St. Mary's versus Loyola Chicago. I said this last week, man. I like Loyola Chicago. I love when they make Cinderella runs. I love when anyone makes Cinderella runs, really. I just don't think it's their year, man. St. Mary's is a solid team. I think St. Mary's gets out of the first round this year. Next up, Texas Tech versus Texas State. not too big on Texas State this year. I am very big on Texas Tech and their defense, so give me Tech to move on. Iowa State versus San Diego State. I think that could be a fun matchup. Iowa State, Isaiah Brockington for Iowa State is a stud. And I know that because, as you can see, I am a WVU fan, and we played Iowa State this week, and Isaiah Brockington, I think he gave us 30, man. I think he gave us the 30 piece. But, yeah, he's a very good player, but I like San Diego State to win that one. Purdue versus Montana State. Give me Purdue. All right, now we got Auburn versus Seton Hall. I'm going to go with Auburn. I'm not too high on Seton Hall this year. Florida versus Chattanooga. That's a fun one, man. That is a fun one. 12 versus a 13. Who will move on? Give me Florida. Give me Florida, and I'll make a run out of that first 4 game. Trying to do what UCLA did last year, first 4 to Final 4. St. Mary's versus Texas Tech. I got to go with Texas Tech, man. They are a great defensive team. Really fun team to watch. I got to go with them. Got to go with them. And then San Diego State versus Purdue. I am going to go with Purdue in that one. So, here is our Sweet 16 out of this final region. We got Auburn versus Florida, the 1 versus the 12 seed. And we got Texas Tech versus Purdue. We'll get to that one in a minute. Auburn versus Florida. Florida actually just upset Auburn, so this is not impossible for them to do. But I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to go with Auburn to make it to the Elite Eight. I do think that Florida can upset Auburn. We've seen it happen in the regular season, but I like Auburn here. I think with the high stakes on the line, Auburn gets it done, but it's a close one. Texas Tech versus Purdue. This would be a very fun game. Texas Tech is a great defensive team. Purdue is also just a great team, man. This is a tough one to pick. A very, very tough game to pick, man. Texas Tech or Purdue. Man. Tough one, man. Tough one. I'm going to go with Texas Tech. I picked Purdue to win the championship last year. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I think Tech can definitely win this game, especially with their defense. If they can lock down Jaden Ivey, that can be huge. If they can rebound the ball, which they're great at doing, they're great at rebounding, they're great at defense, then I think that they can beat the Boilermakers. So give me Texas Tech to move on to the Elite Eight. Now we got Texas Tech versus Auburn for a chance to go to the Final Four. Who is going to win? Will Auburn be our first 1 seed to make it to the Final Four? It's tough. It is a tough pick right now. But I'm going to go with Texas Tech. Yeah, I'm going to go with Texas Tech. I think if they can get the job done against Purdue, then they can get it done against Auburn as well, especially with their defense. So give me Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, to go on to the Final Four. So now let's make our Final Four picks. So no 1 seeds in the Final Four, man. We got Auburn out at the Elite Eight, Kansas out at the Elite Eight, Gonzaga out at the Sweet 16, and Arizona out in the round of 32. So tough, man. I definitely did not think that this was going to happen, but based on where the seeds were, this is who I like coming out right now, man. And I like to switch it up. Illinois versus Kentucky. We get that matchup that we all need. I talk about it a lot on this channel. Sheboy versus Coburn. That is the matchup we want to see, man. And I think Kentucky would win that matchup. I think that this would be a great one. Maybe even a Final Four classic game. But give me Kentucky to move on to the championship game. Murray State versus Texas Tech, man. And Murray State made a hell of a run. Big Cinderella story of this year. I think it ends here, man, in the Final Four. 8 seed made it all the way to the Final Four. Tech's defense gets the job done, and Texas Tech moves on to the championship game. We got a 2 versus a 3 seed here in the championship. Kentucky versus Texas Tech. This would be a fun one. Texas Tech, especially if they get through Purdue, Auburn, a hot Murray State Cinderella team. Like, they're going to be prepared for this game. But I have to go with Kentucky this time. I think that their team has a lot of championship potential, and I'm rocking with Kentucky to be your 2022 or your 2021-2022 national champions. Last week I picked Kentucky versus Purdue in the championship game, and I had Purdue winning it all. This week, give me Kentucky to win it all. This was a fun bracket to make. I had a lot of upsets. I like to pick a Cinderella story run. This time it was Murray State. I could definitely see it happening. It's actually realistic for it to happen, man. So yeah, this is my bracket. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on my bracket down below in the comment section. I know I picked a lot of upsets, but that's just how I am. I love to pick upsets. And yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts about it. Who do you think is going to win the championship this year? Let's talk about college basketball, man. We built a nice community here on the channel. I love talking to you guys in the comments, so let me know your guys' opinions down below, and drop a like for more bracket predictions like this one. We'll do one every single Friday, so make sure you guys subscribe. Really close to 1,000. Help your boy out. And yeah, it's been your boy Danny. I'm out.